All right, let's talk about equal power versus equal gain. So I'll get right into it. I'm just going to copy some audio, so Command C, and then bring it down to this example track from the last video that I filmed, just so I can show you guys what's up here. But when we are, for example, working with a breakpoint, I just hit B to break. And maybe we have two clips that we're trying to fade. We're trying to crossfade them together. In Pro Tools, we can hover on that border, right? I'm in the Smart tool, so all three of these are highlighted. And if I click and drag, it creates a crossfade for me. But you might have noticed, if you double click on that, you have options here. And in the middle, we have equal power or equal gain. So that's what I wanted to talk about today. And you know, before we really get started, you can also, just a couple things about fades. You can click with the grabber tool and hit delete. It doesn't delete the underlying audio. You can also highlight. Oops, let me highlight just one track here. Oh, I'm just rough here. And hit Command F, and that'll also create the fade for you. So if I hit equal here, equals here, it will make that crossfade for me. And I'm just double clicking with my grabber to pull up the fade dialog. So that's called the fade dialog. So all these options in the middle here, equal power, equal gain, and none, they all have to do with how the shape of these fades are created, right? So, you know, I can click and drag around and change things a bit here. But basically it's describing the way in which that shape is being formed. So if you look here, just to become a little familiar with what we're looking at here, this waveform here is representing this clip here on the left. This one's representing the one on the right. And you can see that, right? So you can see that this one on the left is getting smaller as it goes from left to right, and then vice versa. And that's because this one on the left is being faded out as this one on the right is being faded in. So that's just something to keep in mind. That's what we're looking at here. And usually if you're going for a smooth crossfade, something that's not as noticeable, you'll probably want one of these two options. If you click none, you can actually click and drag things around and make them very dramatic if you want to. And you know, when you click none, it activates these little black rectangles that lets you drag them around. But I think I've gone over that in a previous video, so I'm not going to really dig into that. And you'll notice, unlike with none, where I can change each one individually, when I'm in equal power or equal gain, if I click to drag one around to change the shape, it changes the other one in response. And that's because, you know, the equal part of it is trying to keep the two equal, either in terms of power or in terms of gain. So when do you use which one, right? When do you use equal power and when do you use equal gain? Well, so this is just what I've been taught, you know, full disclaimer, grain of salt. You can do your own research if you want, obviously. No one's stopping you. I'm not stopping you. Anyway, I'm rambling. Equal power is basically the idea, the cliff notes are to use that with something that is not phase coherent. So, for example, sounds that are different from each other, right? So things like, you know, maybe sound A is a completely different sample from sound B. They're not phase coherent, they're not similar. And you want to do that because it helps keep the overall, you know, equal power, helps you keep the overall volume constant between the two. So as you travel through the crossfade, equal power works to keep that overall volume constant level, right? Whereas with equal gain, that's good for stuff that is phase coherent. So maybe you have a sample that you're looping, you know, you've duplicated it a bunch of times and now it's sample, 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 sample over and over, and you want to add crossfades between them. So this is a great use of equal power because these items are similar. They are phase coherent. They're, you know, it's like the same or a similar source, right? And this is because, you know, if you're working with something that's very similar, something that's phase coherent, and you're adding crossfades and you use equal power, you might hear a little bit of a boost as you travel across the crossfade, just like a little bit of a boost. And sometimes you don't want that. So then what you can try doing is switch over to equal gain, and that might fix it for you. So that's it. That's the basic idea. You might want to, you know, work in equal power, and then if you hear that little bit of a boost that you don't like, switch to equal gain. That's a great way to do things. That might work for you for your workflow. You might want to just automatically switch to equal gain if it's something like a sample that you're repeating. That might be something you want to do. It's kind of up to you, right? Don't forget about the none option if you want to use the none option. But I think that's about it for this video. So let me know what you think. Comment below. As always, like, comment, subscribe. I'd appreciate all that stuff. I have the Patreon. I have a Patreon. It's patreon.com/CatoNoise. And we have additional content on there. We have a Discord server that we're all hanging out on. It's been a lot of fun. So feel free to check that out if you want to check that out. And other than that, I come out with new videos every Wednesday, and thank you so much for hanging out. Okay. My bunny is so mad at me because I took her in the van this weekend. And now she's being in a grump, so I have to go check on her. So I don't know if I'm going to really say much here. I think I'm going to go check on her and then get to work because I have some mixing to do. But I hope you guys are doing well. Okay, bye.